Okay, Fear the Walking Dead fans, and also The Walking Dead fans, welcome to my very first episode review here on the channel as part of our newest content series, Rocking Dead. Earlier this evening, we launched our very first live episode of Rocking Dead, interviewing our pal Lew Temple, who played Axel on Season 3 of The Walking Dead. I highly encourage you to check out that episode and share it. In a moment, I'll share my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 4's season finale, titled I Lose Myself, but we'll give a very brief backstory on my thoughts on the show to date. But before we begin, The Walking Dead family is one of the strongest out there, and we'd like to welcome you to be a part of our family here on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button right now, join our family with not only The Walking Dead related content, but 3 other entertainment programs to choose from as well. But you can bet from here on out, The Walking Dead is going to be a huge active part of our channel, and we are thrilled to have you here, part of it. Okay, so seasons 1 and 2 were kind of a way to tide me over during the off season of the parent show, The Walking Dead. In some cases, I enjoyed the show greatly. Other times, it was a satisfactory passing of the time. Come season 3, and more so season 4, I found some of the writing and direction either on par or, if I dare say, better than the most recent seasons of The Walking Dead. I know that's a bold statement, however, it's just my opinion. One of the biggest things I've loved about season 4 of Fear is the introduction of John Dorie, played by Garry Davlin. Maybe because I'm such a Rick fan from the parent show, and John fills the ex-cop role like a mirror of Rick. Maybe it's because I love Garrett as an actor. If you've not yet seen him in his role in the show Hand of God with Ron Perlman, you can thank me later. To me, John was a blessing to this show. He's a moral compass and one hell of a sharpshooter. My feelings on Morgan crossing over from The Walking Dead to Fear are mixed, just as are my feelings for him on the original show. He has so much to do for where Rick is today, saving him on day 1 of his ex from the hospital. There are many times where I love Morgan. Other times I thought maybe it's time to go. I'm sure a lot of you may have had some mixed feelings with him as well. However, the thing is with that, it was the way he was written. And whether we love or hate a character, it's how we are led on a journey with that character as told by the writers. So in the end, I think the writers wrote some powerful stories for Morgan. So as we enter the season finale tonight, Morgan has pretty much assumed the leadership role, which is cool in itself and believable, but one might tend to think Alicia would assume that role as she's the last surviving family member, and especially after the selfless act of heroism from her mom, Madison, back at the stadium. John, as well, could assume a leadership role, but maybe he's just a little too soft to take charge, so Morgan it is. I kind of found the threat of Martha, or as some people call her, the Sharpie chick, a little weak. All during this latter part of season 4. Creepy, yes, but like a Governor or a Negan, not even close. I think she was more of a threat to the Fear the Walking Dead's Instagram account takeover more than characters on the show. But it was pretty much in the cards that her days were numbered, especially after receiving a serious injury in the previous episode, and we'll get to her numbered minutes on the show in, well, a number of minutes. Episode 16 picked up, letting us know what happened to Al as she escaped from the hospital, and I have to say I was thrilled when I saw her enter the garage and to see what at first I thought was an ambulance, but turned out to be a news van. I felt selfish for a moment when she opened the back of the news truck and saw all of the gear, a ton of gear, and the first thing I said was, oh man, I would love that camera. But at least she was alive, and to be honest, that would have been like me opening up the door to a deserted Guitar Center and having free reign of the place. It certainly was not an easy escape, nor should it be, right? She was surrounded by walkers in an alley. That's never been done before, right? But she managed to get into a doorway, tie it shut, and buy herself some time. At one point in the show, the team, minus Morgan, gets back to the rest stop service center and gets held up in there with an enormous amount of walkers surrounding the building. They get ready to stock up supplies, and while doing so, they put on some fresh coffee. Oddly enough, everyone, including the teen Charlie, apparently partakes in coffee consumption. Sometimes I'm slow and did not know what this foreshadowing was, but it was pretty powerful. We later find out that Martha, Sharpie Chick, poisoned the water, all the water in the building for that matter, with antifreeze. This was discovered by Morgan during his joyride / crashing into the side of a rock car wreck with Martha. After Morgan comes to from the wreck, discovering he has a major penetration to his leg by a foreign object, some piece of steel as a result of the crash, he eventually gets the intel out of Martha that she was to blame and it was antifreeze. Once Morgan received this info, he tries to radio the team back at the rest stop to tell them they were all poisoned, or what they're all poisoned with, but he's too far to range for a walkie-talkie to reach. He handcuffs Martha to the wrecked police car and begins a painful and limping walk back to the rest stop. Somewhere along this line, not knowing where the show is going and not knowing what will happen for season 5, I thought, well, this could be interesting. The entire team back at the stop that was in the worst shape and pain could actually die. That would be a twist for the series for sure. Everyone dies, except and maybe even Morgan, from what could have easily been killed him from the bleeding out of his leg. But the chances of 5 to 6 people, key characters, dying in a show in the same night were next to zero, but the thought did cross my mind. Eventually, Morgan does get close enough in range for the walkie to reach the team at the rest stop and tells them they're poisoned with antifreeze. June, of course, with her nursing background, tells the team that ethanol is the antidote for the poison. They discover there's a truck out in front of the rest stop full of it. The only thing between them and the cure is a small herd of walkers. The team, sick and near death, muster up as much strength as they possibly can, use some distraction by banging on the glass, and John and company open the doors and start popping off walkers as Strand and Luciano run for the ethanol truck. Strand is stuck getting the valve open to release the ethanol. Luciano sees immediate threat with multiple walkers now discovering them. As she stands there with an axe ready to possibly go down, but now without a fight, Al opens a barrage of military firepower from her truck after shouting, "Get down!" And walkers were instantly turned into juice, but that was not the only thing falling victim to massive firepower. The ethanol truck and its reserve were emptied completely down to the last drop. Morgan eventually arrives, and while everyone was alive, they were deathly ill. Morgan says, "Isn't ethanol just a fancy word for alcohol?" To which June says yes, and shortly thereafter, Morgan shows up with a fair stock of beer, and if my memory is correct, Jimbo's beer. So Jimbo, whom we did see in this episode as a walker and put down by Morgan, saved the group's lives twice. Once by sacrificing himself by using his body as walker food, and the second with his alcohol being the aid to the antifreeze poisoning. Later on, we see Morgan return to the police car where he was driving with Martha that resulted in the crash. To his surprise, the only thing that was there were handcuffs and an arm. Off in the distance, a limping walker, Martha, could be seen. Morgan put an end to her with a stick, and thus the end of the Sharpie chick. So here's my concern in these last couple episodes that grew to an even greater concern tonight. The Walking Dead is going to be playing with some crazy timelines this season, 2 time jumps as it is just in the first half of season 9. Many of us were obviously hoping that Fear Crew would eventually reach Alexandria and Morgan could get the closure he needed with Rick before Rick leaves the show. But within the last 5 minutes of the show, Morgan decides he and the group are not going back to Alexandria whatsoever and are going to stay and help people here by taking up shop in an old factory, using it to start as kind of an assembling supplies for those in need. And then the show pretty much ended right then and there. My thoughts were, one, being a little disappointed to say the least, probably more so that Morgan and Rick will not see each other before Rick's exit. That is, unless somehow Morgan makes a cameo on The Walking Dead. But again, these crazy timelines do not add up or meet up. So I don't know how that's going to be possible. I'm also a little disappointed with the Martha character, as noted earlier. I was hoping we get a hint of where Daniel Salazar was, as he's been hinted to return. I guess we will not get to see him until season 5, which I believe the show is renewed for a 5th season. I think writers for Fear the Walking Dead have a big task at hand to keep this show going. I'll continue to watch as I love everything The Walking Dead, but I just feel the season went from pretty darn good to maybe mildly good, and then kind of very soft as it ended. I'm not going to lie, though, I was glued to my seat each Sunday night, so that really does have to account for something. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are of the season, last night's finale, and maybe even what you think of my new Walking Dead content here on the channel. Please post your comments below. Be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. Be sure to also check out the premiere of Walking Dead with my pal Lew Temple, also here on the channel, and the link is in the description below. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. Cheers.